Hey everyone, and welcome to this look back, or this history, I should say, of what has been known as the Hanna-Barbera's Superstars 10 movies. Now, the reason I want to talk about the history here is because there's a lot of people that probably wonder why certain movies that fall under this category are widely released on DVD, if not Blu-ray, and why others are not widely released on DVD and Blu-ray and are more of a manufacturer on demand title. Well, the reason for that is because I think Warner Brothers is going with basically what's known as the bread and butter, if you will. They're going with the bread and butter. And basically the bread and butter right now happens to be Scooby-Doo and maybe even the Flintstones. Now, the Superstar 10 movies, actually began in 1987. According to what it says here on Wikipedia, they began in 1987 in the third and fourth season, which was 1987-1988, as part of an anthology series. It was part of an anthology series. Oh, it was an anthology series of animated made-for-television films produced by Hanna-Barbera for syndication as part of the Futuristic World of Hanna-Barbera's show. Basically, the third and fourth seasons of that show, which, like I said, was 87 and 88. The characters that got movies were, the characters of shows that got movies were Yogi Bear, 3 times, the Flintstones, once in a crossover, I believe, Scooby-Doo, 3 times, Huckleberry Hound, once, the Jetsons, twice, and Top Cat, once. Now, again, according to what Wikipedia says, Superstars 10 was created in the third and fourth season to be part of the Futuristic World of Hanna-Barbera series, the syndicated series, as an anthology series of made-for-television films, animated made-for-television films. Now, the reason it was called Superstars 10, of course, as I said, well, not as I said, but of course because of the fact that there were 10 movies made. In 1987, according to Wikipedia here, 4 movies in the third season were created. The first one was on September 6, 1987, which was Yogi's Great Escape. The second one was the ever popular and greatly advertised, and I do remember this, because they even had an advertisement, a television offer advertisement to call in and mail in for a copy of this movie. The second one, which was on September 12, 1987, was the crossover between the Jetsons meet the Flintstones. That's right. The second Hanna-Barbera Superstar 10 movie, which again was probably the most advertised one out of the bunch, was the crossover between the Stone Age family, the family of the Stone Age, the first family of the Stone Age family, and their friends, and the family of the future coming together. And that was aired, as I said, on September 12, 1987. The following week, Yogi got his second movie out of the Superstar 10 series, and that was Yogi Bear and the Magical Flight of the Spruce Goose. And then the final Superstar 10 movie, which came out on September 26, 1987, was Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. Now, what was unique about some of these is Yogi's Great Escape and Yogi Bear and the Magical Flight of the Spruce Goose were the only two Yogi Bear movies in this Superstar 10 series that was a collaboration of all characters. In other words, they came across all characters involved with Yogi Bear, from Snagglepuss to Wally Gator. I think Quick Draw was another. You see, they should say here. You had Quick Draw, you had Wally Gator, you had Snagglepuss. Um, you had, yeah, yeah. I think that you had Yapper in there. I think. So yeah, you had about a couple of characters. Like I said, you had besides Yogi and Boo Boo, you had Quick Draw, you had Wally Gator, and Snagglepuss. And the plot of it is Yogi and Boo Boo end up finding three orphan cubs left at the front door. Basically, the mother or parents leaving orphan kids, the babies or something at front doors, that old thing. So basically, they take them in. And this is all happening at the same time that word is getting around that the park commissioner is ordering Ranger Smith to close down Jellystone Park because they've gone over budget. And basically what it means is Yogi, Boo Boo, and even though she's not seen or mentioned, Cindy and all the other bears of the park must be sent to a zoo. And basically what this leads to is Yogi not wanting to be cooped up in a zoo, which goes back to the original 1960s cartoons and plot lines, that he decides to take Boo Boo and the Cubs and leave Jellystone Park for wherever they go. Basically, get the heck out of Dodge. Now, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it yet, but it's a decent film. I will say that it is a decent film, so I would check it out. I would check it out, and let me see here so I can get some names here. Trying to see here. Okay, but basically they get out of Dodge. Now the second film, of course, like I said, out of this that premiered the following week was the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones, and I don't think I have to be a rocket scientist or a smart mark, if you will, to explain exactly what the plot is there, because I'm sure anybody who's a fan of both the Flintstones and the Jetsons, if not animation entirely, has seen this crossover. And this crossover is a very good one because it centers around Elroy creating a time machine and wanting to test it out. So, and that basically leads to a lot of hijinks, a lot of plot elements, basically standard fodder. And it's a perfect blend of elements that you see both in the Jetsons show and in the Flintstones show. So, or that have become associated with both shows. So, I would recommend seeing it. The second one, of course, is Yogi Bear and the Magical Flight of the Spruce Goose, which which honestly was one of my favorites because, of course, it was an all. Once again, it was an all-star cast. It was crossover compilation kind of show. And the characters they had in there were, along with Yogi and Boo Boo, you had Huckleberry Hound, you had Crickjaw McGraw, you had Snagglepuss, you had Augie Doggy and Daddy Doggy, you had Mumbly, you had uh, and a few others. I think you had a few others. I'm not really sure. Yeah, yeah, you had several others. But I thought it was really pretty good because here's what the one thing about the animation. Here's the thing about the animation at times. The animation for the Superstar 10 series was really decent. It really was. And to me, they treated them more as they were actual films or animated films you could see in theaters if they wanted to put them in theaters. The animation was very smooth, very decent. And one of the things that surprised me is I think this is one of the early indications Spruce Goose and the third Yogi Bear movie, which I'll talk about in a little bit, were some of the first indications of, along with another movie, and I'll talk about that in a second, were the first indications of Hanna-Barbera using CGI-like effects in their animation. Let me explain. Basically, the way certain cutscenes were done, you could tell that there was some kind of special panoramic panoramic kind of zoom in panoramic kind of technique used, along with a bit of CGI to go with it. So, and like I say, it was like small CGI effects, like with the like a glow or something like that. You could tell. But the one thing that was really unique about, I think, with Spruce Goose, and it was definitely seen in it, was, and I think even Great Escape may have done it, I'm not really sure, is the way the camera was angled, the way things were shot, the panning, the zooming and everything. It made it feel different in a sense that, wow, this almost feels like a futuristic movie. It's like the effects eh, are unique for that time. Were kind of unique for even a made-for-television animated film. They were very unique, which basically they're now common, if you will, in animation. But still, at that time, it was really really unique. Uh, but basically, this was I thought was a good story, a good movie at the time. I was a kid, so 1987. I was like, what was I, about 8 years old? I thought it was good. So and I still think it's good. But I still think it's a good little film. I really do. And to me, it's one of those films that actually falls back on a few things to help the plot along. Like for example, you have Dread Baron and Mumbly. These are two characters that were created exclusively for Laugh Olympics. That's no lie. They were created exclusively for the Laugh Olympics. And because of the fact that, well, because of the fact that Hanna-Barbera couldn't get the licensing for Dick Dastardly and Muttley, and Mumbly was already in a show, I think, along with Grape Ape. So um, to have these characters, uh, as a part of this was really unique, and was kind of unique and a nice little throwback to Laugh Olympics and some other shows. Excuse me. But yeah, Mumbly, he had his own show, and he also shared time slots, like I say, with Grape Ape and Tom and Jerry, and then Tom and Jerry, and that was his own. And then basically he had a unique run. Um, but yeah, he had a unique run at the time. Uh, and again, he was, for him and for Hanna-Barbera to bring him and Dread Baron back for this, like I said, it was a nice little throwback to Laugh Olympics, because I think they still had problems with the licensing to get Dick Dastardly and Muttley, who ironically would return as part of the Fender Bender 500 segments in Wake Up, Rattle and Roll, aka Jump, Rattle, Jump, Rattle and Roll. So again, I don't want to give too much away with it in case you haven't seen it yet, but I do suggest checking that out. The next one, of course, was Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. Now, this here, Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, was Scooby's first venture into the Hanna-Barbera Superstar 10 series, and it's one of the Scooby-Doo, and it's one of the three Scooby-Doo movies. I should say one of the three Scooby-Doo movies from the Superstar 10 series that was released worldwide. That was given an actual retail release. Unlike the other Hanna-Barbera Superstar 10 series, which, as I mentioned earlier, were made as can be acquired as as manufactured on demand titles through Warner Archive or Amazon or Best Buy. So yeah, basically Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers was the first one, and you could tell it's the first one just by the animation and all that. Because, like I said, the animation would improve. It's like with every movie that they did starring a certain character, the animation would get better or more improved. And the Boo Brothers, Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, like I said, is just one of the three Scooby-Doo films out of the Superstar 10 series that got a worldwide retail release everywhere. It wasn't manufactured on demand, it was everywhere. And I'm sure if you're a Scooby-Doo fan, you must have seen this movie already. If not, check it out. It's okay. It's an okay movie, but I will say this: if the Boo Brothers, which are ghosts, remind you of a certain other comedic trio from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, mainly the 30s and 40s, then I don't think I have to say anything else. So, all right. So after September 26th, they would end up taking a break. And obviously, during that time, they would probably rerun these four movies until we would get to January 9th. And it would be the one and only time up until recently, a couple years ago, that Top Cat himself would get an animated film. We know about Top Cat the movie, which was released exclusively in Mexico theatrically and was a success. And about a year or so later, it was finally released here in the States directly onto DVD and I think somewhat Blu-ray. Top Cat and the Beverly Hills Cats. This premiered on January 9th, 1988, and was Top Cat's only run. Top Cat's only run on the Superstar 10 series. Basically, the plot is Benny, the short blue cat, inherits a fortune, I believe. So Top Cat decides they should all get in on it. And again, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it yet. Frank Hill, it's Frank. He gave me the movie, so I'm probably going to check it out again down the line. But it's very unique. It's a very nice little film. And again, it's Top Cat's only venture into the Superstar 10 series. This would be followed up the following week on January 16th, 1988, with Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul which I thought was um, pretty decent. Hold on for a sec. Right. Like I said, I thought it was probably one of the better ones. I liked it because it was basically an homage to a lot of the monster films, a monster film, the majority of the monster film characters. But what was unique about this is the focus wasn't on the monsters of Frankenstein and the Mummy and the werewolf and all that, and Frankenstein. No, it was actually focused on their daughters. The plot is, and again, if you haven't seen this yet, especially with the Scooby-Doo mania going around, uh, basically Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy signed up to be teachers at a ghoul school, not thinking, thinking at first, obviously, that it's girls' school, but it's a ghoul school. Kind of get it? A little play on the words. So again, if you haven't checked this out, and who hasn't, check it out. You'll enjoy it. It's really fun. I thought it's good. I thought it was one of the better ones. And if you don't believe me, check out TLHCG, that long-haired creepy guy, and his take on it. The next one that followed the following week was on January 23rd, 1988. This was Rockin' with Judy Jetson, and this would be the second and final time the Jetsons would venture into the Superstar 10 series until 2 years later when Universal, along with Hanna-Barbera, would release Jetsons the movie in theaters. But again, this was the second and final time they'd be part of the Superstar 10 series, not the last time they would be in a movie. And basically, what this is basically Judy Jetson wants to be an inspiring rock singer. And typical plot is she has a crush on a very popular singer who, ironically, just wants to be himself. He doesn't want to be this guy he doesn't want to be this flashy singer under an alter ego. He just wants to be himself. So, and the plot basically is kind of almost typical of what you would think. And the villain of the film doesn't like music. And anytime someone says the word music, she flips out. So, yeah, it's a good film. It's a musical in a sense, and like a majority of these are somewhat. Some of these have musical numbers in them. I think some of them do have musical numbers, except for the Scooby-Doo ones. Well, what am I saying? The Scooby-Doo ones do have some musical parts in it, but not so much as like the other ones do. And I don't think Top Cat has one either. So certain ones, like I said, Rockin' with Judy Jetson, definitely falls in that category though. And it's decent, so check it out if you can. The following week, on January 30th, Hanna-Barbera released what I considered one of my personal favorites at that time, and still is to this day, and thanks to Frank Hill, I have it. The Good, the Bad, and the Huckleberry Hound. Now, this to me was Hanna-Barbera's way of giving back to a character that kind of helped characters like Yogi Bear get established. Huckleberry Hound, of course, as we all know, debuted around the late 50s and was supposed to be Hanna-Barbera's main character. He was supposed to be the franchise, their Mickey Mouse. That's until Yogi proved to be more popular than they expected, and he ended up becoming their answer to Mickey Mouse, and Huckleberry went on to be a secondary character. He basically became like the Donald Duck of Hanna-Barbera, except without a little bit of the jealousy and stuff. So to me, this was a nice like little nod, a little bit of a thank you to this character. And it's set in the Old West. It definitely plays on to the roots of certain elements that came out of that era. For example, you would think, okay, this should be a quick draw film, right? Well, quick draw is in it, but the main villains, but he's not the star. Huckleberry is. Huckleberry Hound is. And, like I said, the main villains are the Daltons. But what's funny about this is the Daltons are designed differently. Sorry, my finger hit the mic there. But the Daltons are designed differently than what you saw in Laugh Olympics or even in the Quick Draw McGraw show. So it's a really interesting. It's a really good movie. I really liked it. It does, I think, when I look back and it does use that, as I mentioned earlier, that unique kind of camera angles and panoramic effects, and a little bit of that CGI in there too, a little bit of CGI effects. I think it plays around with that a bit too. But it's really unique. And what's funny about this is it introduces a character that, of course, we don't was only made for the movie, and we don't see her again. They actually, for the first time, I think ever, gave Huckleberry Hound a love interest, and let's see, I think her name's in here somewhere. Desert Flower. Yeah, her name was Desert Flower. And basically, again, just like with another character I'm going to talk about in a minute, she was made exclusively for the movie, but she was never seen again. This is one of those times where a lot of people feel like, okay, why didn't you just keep this character around? You introduce her. She's a freaking yellow Native American female version of Huckleberry. Why didn't you keep her around? And I don't know. You have to ask the people at Warner Brothers or the people that worked with Bill and Joe at the time, because I would have kept the character. If I was going to introduce a character like her and I'll say this for the next one, I would have made him a part officially of that character's legacy, that character's history. So, or that character's franchising. I would have kept that. I would have kept them in there, but they didn't do it, and it's a good movie. I thought it was really good as a kid. I still think it's good. I think it's unique. So I would definitely suggest checking it out when you get a chance. Now the next one is Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears. Now this came out September 10th, 1988. That's right. January 30th was when Good, the Bad, and the Huckleberry Hound came out. So almost 7 months later, well, actually about 7 months later, Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears came out. Now, what was unique about this is this one definitely played around with that panoramic camera zooming kind of effect. And they really played around with it here, really made it feel like, in a sense, like even though it wasn't 3D, it felt like you were there. That's how good it felt. Like I said, the way they moved the camera around, the way they animated it was just really, really well done. The shots, the zoom, the things zooming out, like ships and stuff zooming out and zooming in. It's like it was just. I thought it was done very good. I thought it was a very good technique that they used. And again, they used a little bit of CGI in there as well. Now, what's unique about Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears is this came out around the same time. I think, if I can click on it, this came out about the same time. Excuse me. This came out about the same time as the new Yogi Bear show did. I'm not lying. I am not joking there, folks. The new Yogi Bear show came out in 1988, which was basically a more modern retelling and take, a reboot, if you will, of the original Yogi Bear show. Yeah, 1988. It premiered. Let me see when it premiered. on September 12th. So basically 2 days after. So Yogi and the Invasion of Space Bears served as a pilot to the new Yogi Bear show, which is kind of unique. But yeah, it served as a pilot, and this would be the only Yogi Bear show that would not be an all-star collaboration. This was, well, not Yogi Bear show, but this would be the only Yogi Bear movie, the last one, of course, in the Superstar 10 series, the third and last one. This would not be an all-star collaboration. Instead, it would be, like I said, it served as the pilot to the Yogi Bear series. Why do I say that? Because one of its main settings is Jellystone. The main characters involved are Yogi, Boo Boo, Ranger Smith, and Cindy Bear. That's right, she's in it. So, it basically served, like I said, as a pilot for the new Yogi Bear show, because the new Yogi Bear show, ironically, came out 2 days later. So, to me, the Invasion of the Space Bears is probably one of the better, is one of the better Superstar 10 movies out there. And like I said, one of the reasons is because the way they filmed it, the way they animated it, the way they filmed it, the way they used the camera angles and stuff, the zoom in and zoom out, since the CGI effects when they would need it. It's just something really to behold and watch, and you'll really get a kick out of it. Now, what's unique about this is Julie Bennett, who voiced Cindy when she started, and voiced her in Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, and voiced her in her appearances in Yogi's Gang, Laugh Olympics, and Yogi's Treasure Hunt, voiced her again in Invasion of the Space Bears. She did. She voiced her again in Invasion of the Space Bears. And just like with Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, though, even though she voiced Cindy, she didn't provide the singing voice. You see, just like with Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, this did have songs. I think a couple of them. I think about three songs. Four songs actually. They have 4 songs in it. And Cindy, of course, gets one of the better songs. Basically gets a ballad. Gets one of the ballad songs, one of the heart songs, the romance songs. And just like with Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, where her singing voice was provided by Jackie Ward, her singing voice here was provided by Linda Hammond. That's right, Linda Hammond did the singing voice for Cindy uncredited. That's right. They did not credit Linda Hammond for doing the singing voice of Cindy. And she did, I thought, just one of the best singing voices one of the best singing, honestly, I think she was one of the best singing voices for any character, even to this day. I mean, the way she belted out the song "It Takes Two," which is "It Takes Two to Fall in Love." Basically, that's a full song. She just did a tremendous job. Just a tremendous job. It makes you feel like Invasion of the Space Bears could have been, like I said earlier, one of those movies that could have been easily put in theaters, and this song would have helped sell it and get people there. But again, to me, it's definitely worth taking a watch and taking a look at, and you'll really get a kick out of it. Now, the last one premiered on September 17th, 1988. This was the last of the Superstar 10 movies. And this was, of course, a Scooby-Doo one. It was Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. Now, now I forgot to mention this with Yogi and Invasion of the Space Bears, but they did introduce a new bear character, a new space bear character, actually two bear characters, as a matter of fact. One was kind of a mystical, like grumpy, kind of gruff, rough like mystical bear called Mountain Bear, but he was short. He was a short mystical bear called Mountain Bear. And the other character they introduced was called Snooloo. She was a white little space bear with a pink mohawk and ended up becoming Boo Boo's girlfriend, his love interest. And he sings a song along with her in a duet towards the end of the film that I think you'll like. And it might kind of touch your heart a little bit, may make you shed a tear, but it's a good little song. But but she, along with Desert Flower, along with this other character that came in, that was created exclusively for the last one on September 17th, 1988, which was Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. The new character here was Cookie, or Googie, or whatever her name is. I gotta check again. But she was created and introduced as Shaggy's girlfriend. Googie, yeah. She was created as Shaggy's girlfriend, and just like with Desert Flower, just like with Snooloo, she was never seen after this movie. She was wiped completely out. And if you had seen her, it would only be like a background character in some future incarnations of Scooby Doo, either with movies or television shows. You only saw her as a background character, and that was it. The same with Scooby Dee. Scooby Dee kind of made a cameo appearance uncredited at the beginning of a episode of What's New Scooby Doo. I'm not lying. Check it out. Sorry. But yeah, she was never seen after this, unless she was seen as a cameo character, and that was it. But I know some people kind of have their doubts about Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was fun, and again, it's one of those examples of Hanna-Barbera testing out that new kind of camera angle, special effect, kind of panoramic camera angles, so zoom in and zoom outs. You know, something like a vehicle zooming out, you see it zoom out just shoo, like that, and it's zooming in like this, and then like I said, special effects. You know, this was one of those other examples, and again, done very. I thought it was, probably wasn't done as well as what was done in Space Bear Invasion of the Space Bears, but I thought it was done okay here, and I thought the story was good. I thought it was okay. I will agree with that long haired creepy guy that there were some things that didn't make sense throughout. Out, there were some things that didn't make sense, but I think if you were to dig a little bit into it, it kind of the even though it didn't make sense in certain areas, if you kind of look over that, there were some things that did kind of reason out in a sense as to why certain things had to happen the way they did in the movie. But overall, I definitely say check it out. And again, if you're a Scooby Doo fan and you have not checked this out, why haven't you? You need to check it out. I think it's really good. It really is. And again, it, along with Ghoul School and Boo Brothers, are the only Scooby Doo films of the Superstar 10 series to have a worldwide retail release in stores as well as online, unlike the other ones which you got to get online because they're manufactured on demand. But overall, looking back at the Superstar 10 series, uh, I thought it was a good concept. I really did. It's something that I think animation studios like Warner Brothers, like Disney, um, and whoever else is out there, they need to go back and revisit because this is a concept that in today's animation world either it's cable, network, syndication, whatever, that needs to be explored. This is something that needs to be explored. This is something that needs to be looked into because there's a lot of properties out there right now that could really benefit, even if it's a one-time movie for them, could really benefit from having a series like the Superstar 10 series to help them out. You take a look at a lot of what MLP is doing with the Equestria Grow movies and stuff, right? Just imagine how more helpful those would be if they were part of some kind of Superstar 10 series along with other Hasbro shows. I'm just saying that I think bringing a concept like this back, where you select 10 different movies to make, and you select maybe, excuse me, my finger hit the mic again, and you select, see here, and you select maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, Yogi, Jetsons, Flintstones. Well, Jetsons, Flintstones count as one. See, Yogi 3 times, Jetsons twice, Scooby-Doo 3 times. So that's 8 movies already. Huckleberry, Hound, and Top Cat. If you can select out of that something like Yogi, Scooby, which was 3 times, so basically 2 properties there, Jetsons 2 properties. So if you can get like 3, Huckleberry being another property, that's 4. And if you can get basically 5 different properties, maybe, or maybe even 10 legit properties to do their own films with in your own series, it would definitely boost interest in a lot of products and franchises. I mean, Nickelodeon tried to do this with Dick Animation years ago with several of their with several of their properties as well as some original stories, and it proved to be successful a little bit. But then it did kind of wear down. Like I think they didn't have enough like established franchises. Like they did some with Sabrina. I think they did one with Sabrina. They did one with Archie. But they didn't have any other franchises besides maybe Sonic to go with. But for some odd reason, they didn't do one on Sonic, so that was crazy. So, but there were some other ones they did, but the ones that were based on properties that already had shows at the time or just come off shows at the time were the more successful ones, and the ones that were more original were like, they're okay, mediocre, but they didn't last too long, and that's what I think caused the downfall of that. But you see, even then, and that was like what, maybe 12, 15 years later, 12, 13 years later, I should say, or more so, 16 years later, if you have someone like Nickelodeon, Inspector Gadget got one too, so you had like 3 establishments right there. So if you have these 3 different properties, working together to do this, working together to, if you not working together, but if you have these 3 different established properties getting their own movies as part of this collaboration between Nickelodeon and Dick, and those are the most watched ones you have, and the others are not and the other ones are causing so much of a downfall because they're more original and they don't pique the interest the other 3 did. Then you need to get more properties to work with. And one thing Hanna-Barbera had at their disposal, I should say, one thing Hanna-Barbera had at their disposal was they had a lot of properties. Could they have done more? Absolutely. Absolutely, they could have done more. They could have done a lot more with the other properties they had. I take a look at the Flintstones and the primetime movies they did, and you could say, well, they could have been part of the Superstar 10 series. Yeah, they could have, but with some of the subjects they were dealing with, I don't think so. But anyway, you get the idea. Basically, to me, The Superstar 10 series is something that, if it could, something that I believe, if done right, if brought back right, could work today. I really believe it could. So if Warner Brothers wants to bring it back, because they've got some properties, they got Hanna-Barbera properties still. I mean, they got all the Hanna-Barbera properties. What am I talking about? Under their belt. So to me, I think they should bring it back. If not, what they should do, and I know this will sell both online and physical retail, is they should take all the Superstar 10 movies, including the three Scooby-Doo ones already out there, put them together in a box set and sell them and say, this is the Superstar 10 anthology series. You know, they should do that. And I guarantee you people will buy it up because they'll get all the movies. They'll get all of them without having to wait for manufacturers on demand. You could even do a Blu-ray with these films. You could put all these films possibly on 2 Blu-ray discs, and it would work. And I think anybody listening would agree. But to me, looking back at the Superstar 10 series, though, I thought it was a unique concept. I liked it. It was basically, in my opinion, Hanna-Barbera's answer, if you will. I think it was Hanna-Barbera's answer to the made-for-television primetime movies we would get on network television. And so they probably realized, well, we need something for kids. Here it was. And, well, here we go. And again, I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Some, served a purpose, like Yogi and the Invasion of Space Bears, served as a pilot to the new Yogi Bear show, which ironically came out 2 days later. And again, just an overall good concept. So if I'm Warner Brothers, or if I'm anybody out there listening to this, I would highly suggest bring back the Superstar 10 series concept. You got the properties under your ownership. You can do a lot with them. I would say go for it. I would say go for it and see what you can come up with. So, but overall, definitely, if you don't know about the Superstar 10 series, hopefully this helped you guys out. And let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Let me know what you've thought about the Superstar 10 series and the Hanna-Barbera Superstar 10 series. And